The Yuuzhan Vong were a highly fanatic and war-driven species. They traveled the intergalactic void, having abandoned their ancestral galaxy. The civil war in their original galaxy caused their entire species to become cut off from the Force, sending their clans across the void in search of a new home. They turned to organic-based technology due to a previous war with a droid-controlled species, and believed mechanical technology was an abomination. In Star Wars Legends, the Yuuzhan Vong invaded during the era of the New Republic, but what if the Yuuzhan Vong invaded during the Clone War? Let's begin this story during the second year of the Clone War. The Yuuzhan Vong enter the Star Wars galaxy after 1,000 years of traveling the intergalactic void in search of a new home. They land in the unknown regions, and whispers of their arrival begin to spread. The first people they encounter are the Grisk, another warlike nomadic species that roams the unknown regions and completely decimates their army in the midst of space. They destroy all of their mechanical creations, ships, artillery, and progress onward. Next, the Vong arrive on the outskirts of Chiss space. Their arrival is alerted to the Chiss Expansitory Defense Force, and their commanders as well as Captain Thrawn lead the defense of their homeworlds. But the Vong are too much for them to handle, and they are losing planet after planet. The aristocrat leaders of the Chiss call for a retreat, as they launch as many ships as possible containing the citizens of the Chiss Ascendancy and abandon their homeworlds. They are forced to retreat into Republic territory, and the aristocrat leaders personally travel to Coruscant, which they know of because they've studied the Republic for centuries, and are invited to stand in front of the Senate to reveal what has happened. They present footage of the Vong invading their worlds, destroying their mechanical creations, and terraforming their planets back to how they originally were before intelligent beings arrived. This news shocked the Senate. They were already involved in a war with the Separatists, and now a war-loving species was on their doorstep. But Palpatine was severely taken aback by this. The Force didn't give him any premonitions of this occurring, and the Yuuzhan Vong will no doubt become a significant hindrance to his plans. The Jedi Council meet in session after they hear the news, and equally have the same gloomy look. Yet another war they're forced to engage in. The Republic Security Council, Palpatine, and the Jedi Council meet to discuss what to do. They realize this new threat of the Vong must take precedent over the Clone War, as the Vong don't wish to rule but conquer. They meet with the entire Separatist Council and propose an alliance, a temporary ceasefire until the Yuuzhan Vong is defeated. Both parties agree to this, obviously because this is what Palpatine wants, and he controls both sides of the Clone War. The conditions state that there will be a ceasefire and temporary truce between both sides of the war, and they will work together to defeat the foreign Yuuzhan Vong invaders. And after their victory, they will meet again like this to rediscuss the terms of the Clone War. This was accepted by both sides, and their campaign against the Vong begins. The Vong have taken over all of the Chiss worlds and use them as their base of operations, and begin launching their fleet towards the Outer Rim planets. All-out war breaks out as the Vong fleet decimate trillions of beings around the galaxy in the conquest. The Republic and Separatist armies are forced to work together and engage the Vong in space many times, with both sides suffering severe casualties. The organic nature of the Vong's fleet caught both of them off guard, as they were forced to quickly adapt. But what surprised Palpatine and the Jedi the most is that the Vong were cut off from the Force, and therefore were immune to Force-based attacks. The average Jedi was stronger than a Vong, but their illusion of the Force resulted in more Jedi casualties than expected. The Vong fought with many types of weaponry, but against the Jedi, used amphistaffs, a living serpentine weapon that was able to alter its form, allowing them to use them as a spear or whip. They were resistant to lightsabers, and the perfect weapon against the Jedi. The Yuuzhan Vong army was complex, made up of every level of their society. This included the Shaper castes, the scientists of the Vong, who helped the development of their organic technology with the creation of new warfare. The warrior caste served as the armies of the Vong, engaging directly in battle, and were notably stronger than other Vong. They wore the living Von Dune crab armor, which was capable of resisting blaster fire or lightsabers. This armor did have weak points, such as the armpit and areas of the inner thigh, where the shell segments joined. The Intendant castes worked to keep the Vong society functioning, and was responsible for their economy. They were the smallest of the castes, and during wartime, used their abilities to help plan and order the war effort. The worker caste was the largest, yet lowest caste in their society, and served mainly as the servants, slaves, and laborers, creating their ships and weaponry for the armies. The Vong unleashed a new biological weapon, the Voxin, which was designed to hunt and kill Force sensitives. They could sense Force sensitives through the Force, and had a variety of deadly abilities and tools at their disposal. General Grievous was the perfect commander against the Yuuzhan Vong. He represents the epitome of what the Vong hated, but he was ruthless in the rampage against them. Grievous was all machine, and the Vong was all organic, and their battles were poetic, both sides hating what each other represented. In the Vong's eyes, Grievous was an abomination, but he was ruthless, decisive, and didn't care about his own losses, if it meant he won his battles. This was perfect against the Yuuzhan Vong. Dooku, however, was not on the front lines, due to Palpatine's orders. He commanded his forces against the Vong from afar, and organized where his armies were at a given time. But he waited eagerly, as Palpatine told him they would use the Vong to speed up their plans at taking over the galaxy. Palpatine was happy with how the war was going. The galaxy had lost trillions, and the Vong had taken over and captured many planets in the Outer Rim, but nothing that wasn't salvageable, and he was hopeful that in due time, they would win the war, and he has an idea on how to do so. The Jedi and clone armies turned their focus from the Separatists to the Yuuzhan Vong, as the Jedi commanded the clone army against the Vong. They clashed many times in space, both sides suffering severe casualties. The Vong had many types of organic-based ships that caught the Republic commanders off guard. They had the Midroik, their warship, analogous to an Imperial Star Destroyer, equipped with hundreds of ships, armor, and protective weaponry. The most terrifying feature of this ship was the Quoth Skull, hidden in the belly of their warship. This was a huge, grotesque creature that extended from the vessel to consume enemy starfighters and personnel. They had many other ships, Yorick Tremor, Korchok, and this style of weaponry was alien to the Star Wars galaxy. The battles were legendary, as both sides were forced to adapt to the other, creating new and unique strategies in order to overpower the enemy. Anakin and Obi-Wan were on the front lines with their clone battalions, accompanied by Captain Thrawn, who joined their forces to fight back against the Vong. Together they launched a surprise attack, ordered by the Supreme Chancellor, on Yuuzhan Tar, the Vong's central command planet that was previously Scylla, but they terraformed it back to how it originally was, free from any mechanical creations. Their mission was to find and capture members of the Vong species, and they do just this. They bring them back to Coruscant, where Palpatine had employed the galaxy's top scientists and Chiss biotechnicians to begin what he called the Alpha Red Project. The purpose of this project was to create a virus that would take advantage of the Vong's love for organic warfare and turn it against them. This was a biological weapon, specific to the Yuuzhan Vong, that would target a specific aspect of the organic matter, unique to the Vong, and thus affect and kill only them. During this time, Palpatine was praised in the Senate for his command during war times. They praised his ability to create an alliance between the Republic and Separatists, sparking the thought that maybe after the Vong is defeated, peace between the two sides of the Clone War can be achieved. After months of preparation, all-out war, and trillions of deaths around the galaxy, the Alpha Red bioweapon was complete. They begin sending droid-controlled ships all around the galaxy, imbued with the virus, and coded them to explode on landing. They begin this project, and it was successful. All around the galaxy, the Vong begin to die in massive numbers, as the Alpha Red virus attacks the planets they are occupied on as well as their ships directly. The tide of the war was beginning to shift, but Palpatine had another plan, and would use this to end the war and create himself as Emperor. Palpatine could sense the twin children inside of Padme, and would use this to turn Anakin to his side. He had his spies capture her discreetly, whilst Anakin was on a mission against the Vong, and had her taken to his secret prison quarters in the industrial region on Coruscant. Meanwhile, the Chancellor had heard whispers of a potential Vong attack on Coruscant, but took no measures to prevent it from happening. The Vong would launch their invasion of Coruscant, as the Alliance was implementing the Alpha Red project around the galaxy. The Vong began raining fire upon Coruscant, as their foot soldiers attacked the planet's surface. What Republic forces are present on the planet fight back against the Vong, but their numbers are too little. Palpatine had called Dooku and Grievous to join them on Coruscant, and told them the time for their takeover was upon them. But little did they know, they were being deceived, and Palpatine would use them in his own personal takeover. Palpatine executed Order 66 as the Vong invaded Coruscant, and the clones shifted their attention to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and the Jedi all around the galaxy. Palpatine sent Dooku and Grievous to the temple, who alongside the clones were successful in eradicating the Jedi inside. The Vong were confused why the clones on Coruscant stopped attacking, but they assisted them in sacking the Jedi Temple, completely leveling it and killing everyone inside. Palpatine then releases the Alpha Red virus all over Coruscant, as more Republic forces arrive from hyperspace outside the planet, and the tide of the battle begins to switch. The Republic ships fire bombs containing the Alpha Red virus onto the Vong ships, which doesn't only affect the Vong themselves, but also their ships due to their organic nature. Slowly the Republic take victory, and they successfully stop the Vong invasion. He travels to the wreckage of the Jedi Temple, and congratulates Dooku and Grievous on their victory, but they both feel something is wrong, as Palpatine ignites his two blades and is upon them in a flash, decapitating Dooku and thrusting his saber through Grievous's chest before he can react. He then steals the footage of Dooku and Grievous attacking the temple from the wreckage, and will use it to his advantage. Meanwhile, Anakin and Ahsoka survive Order 66 and escape from the 501st, and head back to Coruscant to find Palpatine in session with the Senate, declaring that the war is over, but only just with their victory. He regrets to inform the Senate that he hoped for peace following the end of the war, but now that wouldn't be possible. The Separatists betrayed them, and he releases the footage for everyone to see of Dooku and Grievous inside the temple, alongside the clones and Yuuzhan Vong, and proclaims that the Vong and Separatists have been secretly working together to go behind the Republic's back and destroy them. Obviously this isn't true, but this is the narrative that Palpatine has created, and will use to persuade the Senate to accept him as Emperor. Palpatine states that they employed their own bioweapon to force the clones to hunt down and turn against the Jedi, resulting in their genocide, not just on Coruscant, but all over the galaxy. He tells the Senate that he doesn't blame the Separatist people for these actions, that this was done due to Dooku's selfishness, and will not punish Separatist worlds, but offer them redemption by joining the Republic. Palpatine proclaims that following the end of the war, the instability the galaxy is in poses a threat to the Republic itself, and states that in this transitory period, the Republic will be transformed into the first Galactic Empire. Palpatine receives cheers and praises all over the chamber. He was known as a strong chancellor that led them successfully through wartime, and would now become Emperor. Palpatine goes back to his office, where he meets with Anakin and Ahsoka. Palpatine is happy to see Anakin, but now is where he manipulates the boy with his lies. He tells Anakin that he's sorry, that only minutes ago he received news of Padme's death at the hands of the Yuuzhan Vong during the invasion. Anakin steps back in disbelief, many thoughts going through his mind. How does Palpatine know about her? Can she really be dead? She can't be. Tears begin to trickle down his face as the weight of the news settles in, and Ahsoka attempts to console her master. Palpatine tells Anakin that what the Vong did to her was disgusting, but that together they can carry forward the wishes of Senator Amidala and lead the galaxy to a peace it has never experienced before. Anakin nods, and he agrees to help Palpatine do this. The Emperor turns to Ahsoka and tells her he will also need her help in establishing order around the galaxy. Ahsoka is not fully convinced about whether the Empire is a good thing, but right now her mind is filled with how Anakin is feeling, and she agrees to help Palpatine. The Emperor sends her to the Outer Rim, far away from Anakin, whilst he keeps the Chosen One close by his side, slowly turning him to the dark side, using the hate, anger, and pain he feels after losing Padme to guide him down this path. Anakin accepts these emotions. In the past, he's not been allowed to experience them due to the Jedi Code, but he was free from these restrictions, and it was liberating in his mind. His power increased significantly in the dark side, as his mind also began to change. Palpatine would eventually finalize his conversion to the dark side by forcing him to kill his own Padawan, Ahsoka. The Chosen One was his, consumed by hate, and now a servant of the dark side. The war with the Yuuzhan Vong was over, the Separatists defeated, and the entire galaxy under Palpatine's control. He has Anakin, his prized possession, but also a backup, as he has the pregnant Padme, carrying the children of the Chosen One, secretly hidden away, who he'll train from birth to become the true Sithari. But one day whilst Anakin is on Coruscant, he feels a disturbance through the Force, which takes him to the industrial region on Coruscant. He feels the presence calling to him as he walks through the abandoned factories as the feeling only grows in strength. He uses his lightsaber to cut down wall after wall, eager to see who calls to him, as he breaks through a final floor to see his wife alive and well, carrying the twin children in her arms after just giving birth. If you enjoyed this video, you have to watch What If Anakin Was Born in the Old Republic and What If Anakin Became the Emperor. Please continue to like and subscribe, comment on the video what you enjoyed the most and what you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching and may the Force be with you.